Hello, my name is Matt Dean and welcome to My Northern Roots, a podcast inspired by my experience as a community champion for the beautiful Oldham Why Not project, a lottery-funded heritage project which is part of the UK's largest urban farm and eco-park based at the Northern Roots site in my hometown of Oldham, Greater Manchester. Sorry Mum, I mean Lancashire. In this episode, I asked my parents for their memories of the Oldham that they grew up in, one which is very different from the one that we live in today. It was a post-war, post-industrial, pre-modern place in many ways, in the process of being rebuilt, but not necessarily reborn. I hope that this episode will help you understand what their early life was like, and give you some insight into how their experiences have helped shape me and my attitude towards people and my sense of place. Where we're from and who we're raised by shapes who we are as people. I'm very proud to be able to say that I was born and raised in Oldham by these two wonderful, dependable, generous, honest, hard-working people who are themselves, I think, very much a product of where they are from. And as you'll hear at the end of the episode, I've been thinking about where I'm from. All the people who came before me and those after I'm gone.
Right, well, my name's Travis Dean. I was born July 1952 in Oldham, in not such a well-to-do area, I must say, but happy memories of childhood when you could play out on the streets without any kind of worry. If you did something wrong, maybe one of the local bobbers would just prick your ear and take you home, and then you get another one off your dad. But they were happy memories. Lots of good friends, what we used to play with. Essex Street was just rows of tourist houses, no inside toilets, all back gates, all back doors into a communal toilet outside, which served probably two houses, two up, two down, coal fires, nothing like gas fires or anything like that. There were me, Marlene, our Melv, my dad and my mum, until my sister Marlene got married and moved out, and then there was the four of us. I slept in the same room as my mum and dad. And then our Melv and our Marlene must have slept in the same room. I don't quite remember that because I was probably a bit too young. Damp, cold,
cockroaches,
wet, cockroaches, mice, everything. Well, we worked too bad because we had a cat, so the mice didn't really affect us. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they were. You never want to go back to them kind of conditions. Rented, yeah. I mean, we had a tin bath, and as like everybody says, the youngest went in last. Yeah, it was. No, it wasn't pleasant. I wouldn't want. You know, you listen nowadays to people who live in these houses with mould and things like that. Well, you didn't get so much mould as dampness because the mould is created by heat and lack of ventilation. Yeah. Well, there was no problem with ventilation in the house we lived in. I mean, you used to blow a gale on the door. Yeah. The windows were just sash windows.
Coal fire, see?
Coal fire. So that ventilated the room as well. And yeah, you wouldn't want people to go back to them kind of days, but you know, probably people are living in similar conditions nowadays because of the heat in the house and lack of ventilation. I mean, winter, you used to have to scrape the ice off the inside of the window before you could see out of it. That's how cold it was. And we used to have a night light burning. They call them tea lights now, don't they? You'd have one of them burning all night long because there were no lights or bedside lights or anything like that. So yeah, I'm glad it was a good experience. I'm glad I did it. Well, I didn't have a choice, no. And then, like I said, we moved on to Medway Close, and it was like another world. You know, my dad had a garden, grow his own veg, things like that. And then I started work, and I could help my mum and dad then with that the way they lived and help them with a bit of money what I was earning. Yeah, it was hard, but I'm glad I went through it. My dad used to work at we used to call it a jam factory. I think it was CWS Vinegar Works, I think it was called, down in Middleton. And my mum used to just do a cleaning job at Platts on Featherstone Road, where the big clock is. And then my dad, after he finished at Sarson's, CWS as it was, he went working at Oldham College as a caretaker. And that's where he worked then up to him retiring. Yeah. And my mum, all she ever did was do cleaning jobs. Nothing else, just a cleaner. My mum worked at Mills when she was young, yeah, and my dad they both worked at Mills. Yeah. My mum was one of these where they did this on, I don't know what they called it, bobbins and that kind of thing, where they have these big machinery, what would go in the noisy factories where they did all the lip reading and things like that. And that's where my mum worked. But I think my dad had it a bit easier. He worked at Mill. I'm not sure what my dad did. As far as I'm aware, he always worked at CWS. That's the only place I can remember as a kid him working, because that's when we used to get strawberries. He used to bring a couple home now and then instead of going to jam. So, yeah. But happy memories. Yeah. Happy days. You could do what you wanted virtually without being worried about anybody bothering you. Oh, we just played out all the time. That was it. My memories of childhood, just playing out. And when it snowed, we had great times on slippy curries and snowboards and things like that. We used to get the odd neighbour who weren't too keen on snowballing at the windows and things like that, but that's how it were. There never nobody ever gets in beat up or out like that. It was no knife crime out like that. I used to have a knife, and we used to play the splits with it, and that's all we had a knife for. Yeah. Nothing else. I wouldn't know what to do with a knife other than play splits, and that's what we used to do with it. It was good fun.
Well, I'm Sandra Dean, and I was born in November 1951, and my childhood was extremely different from your dad's. My dad was married an Italian girl, brought her over here to lived with my grandma on Frederick Street until I was 18 months old, and then they moved into a new house on Merton Avenue, brand new, semi-detached. It was built on what was fields when my dad was a child. Very, very different experience to your dad. Bathroom, toilet, inside, garden, garage, drive, lived on a cul-de-sac. Completely different. But I had a happy childhood for the most part. Playing out was great. Living in a cul-de-sac, there weren't the cars coming up, so it was very safe. We'd also got Merton playing fields on the avenue, so we used to go take picnics over there in the summer, take a ball over. Everything was very simple. I had a pair of roller skates, had a bike, could play on the avenue in complete safety, had skipping ropes, played with other children on the avenue because there were quite a lot of children around there. And yeah, it was good. It was good. My mum was Italian, and that was it. I didn't feel different because of that. I actually didn't know anybody else when I was very little that had a parent who came from anywhere else, until I was at primary school, and my sister was in the same class as a girl who had a mum who came from Austria, and she and my mum struck up a really good friendship. And whether that's because they were both not necessarily outsiders and not necessarily different, but because they'd got a similar experience, that they'd come over at an early age, at a young age, to marry somebody from this country. So they struck up a good friendship which lasted their lifetime. But no, it wasn't, for me, having a mum that was from another country. It was quite nice in some ways, because it was different. Yeah. Because it was different, and you could say, yeah, my mum came from Italy. When I was little, I do remember always wanting to say that I'd been born in Italy. Of course I hadn't. I was born at Woodfield Maternity Home on Manchester Road. But, it was just that I suppose it was I don't know what it was really, because it was different. I think she coped extremely well. Yeah. I mean, she learnt the language. Before she came over, she started having lessons and learning the language. And she picked up the language and a part really, really well. And she didn't have an accent. The only time I ever noticed that she had an accent was when I talked to her on the phone when I was younger. But she integrated very, very well. And I think because she lived from 1948 to 1953 with my gran, she learnt to integrate, shall we say. My uncle always used to say she made the best steak and kidney pudding, which is not very Italian, but apparently he said she made the best steak and kidney pudding. So she did integrate in that respect. She learned to cook English food. She learned, she just... English ways, yeah. She just learned she just integrated very, very well, I think. I mean, it must have been difficult as well, coming over as a 20-year-old and getting married and then going to live with her mother-in-law, who was a very strict Victorian lady. But I think she learnt a lot from her. And yeah, I think she integrated really, really well, and there was never any animosity shown to her, because, I mean, because she was Italian, and bear in mind that technically England and Italy were at war all through the war. So, I mean, sometimes my dad used to jokingly refer to her as the enemy. She did integrate. The only thing she couldn't cope with was the damp weather. I remember at Oldham being the weather. You said for a start, the weather. Summers were summer, winters were winter, and we had spring and autumn in between. Yeah. We had 4 seasons. Oldham was like the town centre. Was quite vibrant, wasn't it? It was vibrant.
There were things going on, places to go.
Yeah, and the shops, there were, you could get any shops. There were loads of shops. Like on the high street, you'd got everything, hadn't you? Yeah. There was just
4 or 5 picture places you could go to.
There were
nightclubs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was run down. It seems a bit strange, this, but the town centres and such like were pretty well. They had a lot going on. But then when you came home, like for me especially, you go back to your little 2 up, 2 down, cold house, light your fire in the morning, things like that. So even though there was that going on in the town, there was still a lot of poverty.
Was the town centre run down, or was it kept well?
No, I don't remember it being run down. I remember it being quite well looked after, if I'm honest. You had got nice buildings. I mean, like, you had Yates's Wine Lodge, didn't you? Somewhere around where McDonald's is now, or a bit further across, or, and you'd got St Peter's Church was there.
And then they built St Peter's Precinct, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, and what disaster that was.
A bit of a white elephant, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but there was some nice buildings. I mean, like on Union Street, you've got the Central Bath. That was a beautiful old building. It's where we used to go for our swimming galas. Yeah. And things like that. There were some really nice buildings on Union Street.
I mean, some of them are still there, aren't they? But they're not really used, I don't suppose, as well as what they should be.
No, I mean, because I mean, like
the Masonic buildings, they're still there, which
but they're
I don't know what's happening with them at all.
No, and then you got the Lyceum, but you see, opposite the Lyceum, you had the Central Bath, so you had nice buildings on both sides of the road, and they were characterful buildings. They had something about them, and then they replaced them with these 60s breeze block concrete things. No, they've been pulled down. And I think a lot of the character from the town centre has been taken away. There were a lot of terraced houses. in Oldham. There were certain areas, because like we walked along Langdale Avenue, didn't we, the other day, and we walked around along Windsor Road, and we said, if you lived on here, you'd made it, because Coppice was, before Garden Suburbs, Coppice was the area to live. If you had a Coppice address, you'd made it. You really had made it. Yeah, I mean, and then obviously where we lived on Merton Avenue, that was regarded as quite a nice area because the houses were all new, they were semi-detached. I think there were a lot of terrace houses because they were probably mill workers' houses because there were so many mills. So you would get a lot of those sort of houses, wouldn't you?
I don't think there was. I mean, I think it was either. It seemed to me that you were either at one level or down at the lower level. You were either two up, two down, or you were at a much better state of life and you've got better places to live. And until they started knocking the tourist houses down and building proper housing, then I don't think a lot of people were still living in what you would call, what they would say, squalor.
And that was around the 60s, wasn't it, when they started?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Medway Close, you moved down there in March 1967.
Yeah.
Marilyn's mum and dad moved into their house on Hopkin Avenue, which was a council house which was built to replace other houses in 1967. So yes, there was an awful lot, because where they built these houses in Medway Close and Medway Road used to be prefabs. Post-war prefabs, and they knocked those down and built a small council estate. I mean, it wasn't a big council estate, but it was a small council estate, wasn't it?
And then where they built on Essex Street, you know yourself, there's a lot of houses up around there now, round Mother Hubbard's and all around there.
Vale Drive is where...
That's where all Essex Street was, and West Street, Sussex Street and all those.
Those are the council houses that they built there to replace.
To replace Essex Street and all the ones what there. Because I remember when I was working for on Gasboard, I worked in somebody's house one day and I was doing something in the kitchen, and I looked out the window and I just stood there and I just thought to myself, I'm sure I'm stood in 35 Essex Street where I used to live.
Yeah.
Because the view I got from that window was exactly my memories of standing on the front door in Essex Street and looking down towards what used to be the railway yard. And I swear blind, that's where I was. Yeah, it was really quite a strange sensation.
Yeah, I remember you coming home telling me that and saying I've had the strangest experience today.
Well, I'm proud to have come from Oldham. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You go to some places and they'll ask you where you're from and they'll say Oldham, and they just look at you and think, God, that's a bit of a dump in it. It might be, but it's a dump I know. And it's the dump I was born in, and I've grown up in it, and I like Oldham. It used to be a dump. Going back to my childhood, I mean, you've got to say that it wasn't a posh place by any means, but we had what we had. But I've lived through it. I've got through, come out the other side, and you could say that anybody. I could say to the same guy, say, "Well, where do you come from?" And he could say, "I don't know, Southend-on-Sea." I said, "Well, what's it like there?" And he said, "Well, we've got the sea, but the rest of it's not very good." So who's to say what's good and what's bad about a certain place? I think if you're happy where you are and where you've come from, then you've done all right.
Well, I'm a bit like your dad, really. I mean, a friend of mine says she absolutely hates Oldham, can't think of anywhere worse to live. But I don't agree with that. I think I was born here. I'm an Oldhamer. The one thing that does rile me is that I've been lumped into Greater Manchester, and as far as I'm concerned, Oldham, Lancashire is where I was born, not Oldham, Greater Manchester.
You were born in Oldham.
I was born in Oldham, Lancashire, and I think to lump us with Greater Manchester is wrong. I think Oldham is a town, an individual town, and I'm quite proud to have come from Oldham. I think a lot of personalities have come from Oldham. Your Dora Bryans, your Bernard Cribbins, your Eric Sykes. I mean, Eric Sykes used to live next door but two to my gran on Frederick Street. Brian Cox comes from Oldham, although people would say, well, he come from Chadderton and Chadderton wasn't part of Oldham, but it is now part of Oldham. There's a lot, I think Oldham's got a lot of heritage. It's got a lot to be proud of, but I think people are very quick to put Oldham down.
It used to be a very friendly place, and I still think it is a friendly place, but obviously things have changed over the decades. And I still feel though that by coming from Oldham I can talk to anybody. Now I rather fancy that you get some people who come from different areas would probably find it difficult to talk to other people, whereas like when we go on holiday, I can make conversation with anybody on holiday, but can other people do that from where they come from? And that's what I like about being born in Oldham, I think because my dad, I always remember my dad when he used to go out with my dad, he used to go to Oldham town centre, and he'd pull up this guy in the street, and he said, "How you doing, Tommy?" I said, "Oh," he said, "I knew this guy about 35 years ago," and he still remembered him, and they still talked as if they'd known each other yesterday. That's what I like about it.
I think people from Oldham are very grounded. They don't have airs and graces, and I think they'll call a spade a spade. But
I think they do it. I think they do it in a way where they don't want to offend people. If that sounds right, I can say something to somebody, but I don't want to say something to them which would sound offensive to them. I'd rather say it to them in a way which it sounded right. But you'll get some people who just come out with it abruptly and don't give a bunkies what they say.
But I do think as well, Oldham has become a different town, because the makeup of Oldham now is very, very different than it was when we were young, than when we were children. Some people find that hard to accept. We don't, on the whole, do we?
No.
Oldham is what it is. It's a town that's evolved, because obviously it's a town now that is not full, but has a lot of immigrants. But I can't say anything because my mother was one, and perhaps that gives me a different perspective of Oldham than, say, other people, because people were very tolerant of my mum when she came over in 1948. I think we all have to learn to be very tolerant of other people.
You are what you are.
Yeah, exactly. You are what you are, and you are from where you are from.
Correct.
And your who you are has been moulded by what went
How
on.
you've come through your life and what went on before.
What went on before. Like your dad's in a very different place now than when he was a child. His circumstances are very, very different. But he's still an Oldhamer at heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I
remember we were on holiday. We'd gone to Italy to watch a Andrea Bocelli concert, and we were having a meal out one night, and this guy came and sat with us. He was on the same trip, and he actually said to us, he knew we were from Oldham, and he actually said to us, "How can you afford to come on this trip by coming from Oldham?" And it actually took me aback a bit, actually, and I can't actually remember what I said back to him now, but I just thought, "Oh, you cheeky sod." But he just thought because we came from Oldham
that we should have been all
still had a cloth cap and a whippet at his side.
Yeah, that we had no right. He was from somewhere down south.
Of England,
he was somewhere down south.
Yeah.
We were in this town called Podgybronsey, weren't we? And he said this, and it was, we both found it very, very insulting, because I thought,
last night of his holiday, we're not making a scene.
No, but it was like that some people have this misconception that because you are from a town like Oldham that's in the north, in its past was traditionally a cotton town and all this, that and the other, that you are poor.
I've been thinking about where I'm from, all the people who came before me and those after I'm gone. A town on a hillside, cloth caps and clogs, the coal mines and the cotton mills are now mostly gone. But what happened to the millionaires? Where did the fortunes go? They took the jobs away from here, and there's now left to show. So I sing a song for my northern roots. You can't stop them growing. Here come the shoots. So I sing a song for my northern roots. You can't stop us growing. Here come the shoots. is gone, our sun can shine. The grass is green and the trees look fine. It was Mary who said it could be divine. In this town of mine, so I sing a song for my northern roots. Can't stop it growing. Here come the shoots. So I sing a song for my northern roots. You can't stop what's growing. Here come the shoots. Here come the shoots. The Beautiful Oldham Why Not project is a Northern Roots project funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. If you'd like to learn more about Northern Roots, please visit northern-roots.uk. This podcast has been hosted, recorded, edited and produced by Matt Dean of QPod, Oldham's only dedicated podcast production company. For more info, please visit kupod.co.uk.